Bonjour à tous. Hello, everyone. So now in 2026, almost in the first quarter of the 21st century. So what you did for this migration for your life? The students ask you, your kids ask you. So I, I said I tried to make a academic and scientific of definition of the reason. The reason what the Immanuel Kant did is based was on a concept. And in 700 page of the critique on pure reasons, he tried between the intuition, cognition, and concept make this space and time for the readers to bring the reason inside of the concept or linguistic of the human science. But what in 2016 in Transcendental Reason, what I wrote, I tried to bring the reason from the physics mechanic of 18th centuries to the physics quantum and electromagnet and finally to the thermodynamic and make reason from a concept of the physics more to the biochemistry, biophysics and biology and sort of the processing and I tried just to bring down my intuition as was the recommendation of the Immanuel Kant to all the students. So now we have to be not too much generalized. We have to be partisan. We have to make a comment and make a side to make it clear for all the students what they want, what my teachers or my tutor want to talk, what's his position. They can't regarding to his time in Eastern Germany and the Prussia, and was it between I think Sir Frank Frederick II and Frederick III kingdom, and partly in the south and west of the Germany, still under influence of culture of Roman Empire. He was under pressure, but Hume, after concern of human understanding, on a dialogue of the religion, he made it very clear based on a British culture. He made it clear what he wants from his philosophy, and he exactly said that the religion is a sort of the mythology and sort of the convention and the dogmatism, and he says I'm a atheist. So now, based on this dialogue which Hume wrote, I try now bring the introduction. In the diffuse in Canadian politics, the why life is important in instinct as animals, and not suicide, and the redemption or a strength of a reason to a continued life for friendship, dancing, laughs, and the drinking, art, food, uh, collaboration versus our weak senses. Like tomorrow is the closing ceremony of the Olympics in the Milan, and the 4 years before in the Beijing's, I tried to talk about the down of the Nietzsche and what he tried to say about this mythology and why the people is going to the darkness and lack of knowledge instead to research of the science. So food collaboration versus our weak senses in objectivity as a science yet not mature, with preface of audience for a drama nostalgia of justice rather than tragedy, is regarding to the preface of the diffusing Canadian politics as a short of the uh, writer in front of the audience. And then to as we, the philosophy of sociology in migration of Canada by replication of RNA from DNA, to analogy of the bonding the carbon to carbon versus sulfur to sulfur, to burn off music song of Wittgenstein in philosophy of politics. Then the core of the philosophy of my philosophy in Prosteriori started from 2016, when in August I posted by the emails the transcendental reason, and in that writing I said what is the core of the Prosteriori, which means the reason to be described, and not only based on a concept, and based on just the cosmology or the mechanical of Newton, but we have to update from 18th century to 21st century based on electromagnet, physics quantum, and thermodynamic, to make a reason based on a linguistic and essence of the wave and magnetic and hyperbolic in geometry of magnetic inside of the front lobe. Then transcendental reason, so continue philosophy of geometry, and then from gardening to guardian, and the lecture of attribute and substance in Prosteriori, and 2025 philosophy of geometry volume 2, and 2025 on nature of paradox. Inevitable ritual culture in life and our implication from adaptation from individual to society in a multicultural society, for utopia city in democracy by love and sexism, after festival happiness to marriage, and answering our Baptist kids to phenomena which in materialism would be easy task, while in obscure metaphysics is difficult task to answer kids' question. When we try to be happy, good job, dancing, suddenly fell in love by dancing with the several girls, fell in love with the one girl, and try to live together as an instinct, and suddenly pregnancy of the love and feeling of the kids, and calls the papa, mama, and after kids is like a dove, is try to ask inquisitive questions. What is this? What is that? And suddenly, what is this building? See, this building is where, when you born, you are Baptist. And after you answer all the question about the science, about the name of the tree, name of the plants, name of the minerals, name of the stones to the kids. But about this building, the kids ask some question. And kids question, what is this building? Who are they? As a representative of the creator, omnipotence of this world, who are in a spiritual manner in life by our taxes through politics. So time is to be ready for their inquiries, thus as we need to learn and teach ourselves by dialogues concerning natural religion by David Hume. In 21st century of reminiscence crusades, and the Baptist kids to perform the romantic dance on a blaze skates of patinage by their necklaces of Trinity. Dialogues concerning natural religion. Hume, I, I didn't know that. What I did in a performance and preface of the diffusing Canadian politics by the audience and theater, I tried to make several player, as a director, as a filmmaker, as a theater director, to write the several actor and actress. So Hume is trying to make a sketch and make it three-person from dogmatism and the bigot, and the second person from skepticism, and finally to the philosopher. Three-person is make an act as his writing, because he says it's time to write like ancient Greek, not composition writing, but a dialogue between person and person. We can learn more and we can clear the objective of the writing, which is very difficult, like reason in front of the religion. Letters from Pamphilus to Hermippus. No method of dialogue in pedagogy of philosophy system anymore. Hume said. Right now we are talking about the Hume and his on behalf of the Hume. For a precise and orderly arguments to establish right and the outset explain the proofs by departing from the direct style of composition. The dialogue writer hopes to give a free air to his performance and to avoid the appearance of author and reader. For brevity, concise order, and precision, dialogues writing is especially suitable and preferable to the direct and simple method of composition, to prevent triteness, dullness, and overuse of the uh, writing of subject. To liveliness of the conversation may reinforce the teaching, might appear neither tedious nor redundant. On the other hand, any question of philosophy that is so obscure and uncertain that human reason cannot reach a secure conclusion, it seems to conduct us naturally into the style of dialogue and conversation. Reasonable men may be allowed to differ on a topic regarding it is hard to be reasonable, confident, an agreeable way of passing the time, and if the subject is challenging and interesting, thus a dialogue can unite the two greatest and purest pleasure of human life, to company with others. Natural religion truth is exists a God. People in the most ignorant age have believed this. Ignorant age, still we have ignorant age after 3 centuries in a crusade time, while the Asian people like Korea, Japanese, and Chinese, they are approaching to us in a sport, in science, and we have to ask to ourselves what we are doing in our customs, in our ritual. People in the most ignorant age have believed this, and the most refined geniuses have worked to produce new proofs and arguments for it. Why this truth is important? Because it is the ground of all our hopes, the surest foundation of moralities, the firmest support of society, and that ought to never to be a moment absent from our thoughts and meditation. Whenever we think, we run into the obscure question about the nature of the divine being, his attributes, his decrees, his plan of providence. We cannot restrain our restless inquiry into them, and most accurate research have yielded nothing but doubt, uncertainty, and contradiction. Now, the subject at treatment is a natural relation as, as a theme for dialogue. Spending summer season with Clintus. Clintus, the name of the actor who is a representative of the David Hume as a pure reason based on a science and the reason of the science in philosophy. Clintus. Spending summer season with the Clintus as I usually do, and was present at the conversation he had with the fellow representative person of skepticism, and the dema representative of the dogmatism and religion. My sketch made you so curious to display more reasoning for various systems that they defended relating to this delicate subject of the natural relation. The character of the three men are different, and these raise your expectation even higher. You contrasted the careful philosophical methods of the Clintus with the causal skepticism of Philo, and contrasted each of those with the rigid, inflexible orthodoxy of the Dema. God save King, Trinity of Wall Street, Hollywood, and Silicon Valley. On a coins, in God we trust. Crusade. And now, Epstein Files. New mode of philosophy and the oligarchs. Scandal. And Korea. Yeah, baby, the real baby. Witty language, not witty one. Sitting in Clintus' library, the man complained on his unwearied perseverance and the constancy in all his friendship. Pamphilus, father, your intimate friend, and the son is your pupil, might think him to be your adopted son, as a bringing trouble to the judge in every useful branch of literature and science. You are patient, prudent, as you are hard working. You are a magazine that are bringing for my son Pamphilus. The method I follow in education of my children is based on the saying of an ancient student of philosophy: ought to first learn logic, mathematics, then ethics, next physics, last of all the nature of God, because the science of natural theology is the most profound and abstruse of any. Students of it needs mature judgment, so mind need to be enriched with all other sciences. In Prosteriori, science means method deduction from hypothesis to theory by experiment, observatory as a main common senses, a measurement disciplined. And Philo asked if leave it late. Philo has a skepticism. Now critique to the Hume or to Clintus. So if leave it late to teach principle of religion, isn't risk they will neglect to even outright reject the religious view. And after that, Dema, on behalf of the dogmatism, said, I postpone the study of natural theology as a science that is open to the human reasoning and controversy, but only as a science. And Dema, my chief concerns with my children is to bring piety into their minds. And then I continued, on my young mind of children, a habitual, pray every day, every moment, reverence for all the principle of religion, while they pass through every other branch of knowledge. I comment on the uncertainty of each branch, on the eternal temporal controversies of men, on obscurity of all philosophy, on a strange, ridiculous conclusion that some of the greatest geniuses have derived from the principle of mere human reasons, tamed your mind to distrust of their own abilities, no longer hesitate to open to them the greatest mysteries of religion, and no risk of the presumptuous arrogance of philosophy will lead them to reject the most established doctrines and opinions. Now I made a note about the disciple and student inquiries. What is art of the sketch of Hume on this article? Is my experiment prior to school, when I was at age of 4, 5, or 6 years old, before I go to learn the primary school, to learn the mathematics in a grade 7. This my father had some friends or cousins, and he was very religious. Actually, my parents, some sort, was a religious family, and they said, okay, okay, kids, okay, who tells us who created the universe? We are 5 years old. I said, who? I said, God. Who is God? God is unity. God is the biggest judge. He has a biggest judiciary. God has a prophets. God, after prophet, has some leaders that they called in Islamic philosophy imam, and after we have life after this. I was just 5 years old. I say, excuse me, if the God is the biggest judge and has a judgment, so why our family, some neighbors, my uncles, kids is born as a syndrome and doesn't have has a mental health. So if God has a biggest judge, so why he created? And they answered me, this is a good question. That is for judge of the God, because God want to examine you, how much you love him. I look, and now I'm 55 years old, still superstitious. Still, I did not learn the mathematics. I did not know mathematics or the writing, or I didn't had a chance to go to the school. They want to teach us about this kind of the mythology in the brain, and how you want to clean such this fundamental instrument for the kids after 40, 50 years. Even you are neurologist, even you are the cardiologist, even you are electronic engineer, in your mind doesn't matter. In the Japanese, if you go into the temple and doing the ritual culture of the Japanese by the Buddhism, or Chinese a little bit less, or Hinduism is much more, you are biggest Indian researcher in the NASA or in the India, but still you doing the following festival of the Krishna or Hinduism, and it's not clear. This is a paradox, and the future is not the belong to them. The future is belong to the pure science, nature, and life and sport and health and science. Um, that was the concern of the Hume at this theater writing in a dialogue of the natural religion. Why we have to start first science and after we go talk about the religion if we want. But Dema was said no. We have reason is not the big stuff because we don't we don't know. We thinking that is a water. We go there in a desert. That is a mirage. There is no water, so we cannot trust to our observatory. We are weak. We are weak in front of the cosmology. We cannot trust on our reasons. So we have to trust to the religion, which is the God who has omnipotence and infinity power, and we are weak. And like Jesus, who is still alive and return when anarchism overwhelmed whole the life, or as Islam for descendant of the Prophet to transfer of the message like mRNA to RNA ribosome RNA at this analog acoustic makes controversy that prophet as a bringing along of the message. A message is not like a mRNA from DNA genes as a will of God based on a reasoning. Ecclesiastic, it means a priest or a clergyman. The origin of the ecclesiastic is coming to the Old Testament of the King Solomon, attributed from literature context. Philo continues, I admire most in your plan of education is your way of getting advantage from the very principle of philosophy, self-sufficiency, reasoning, and matter paradox, very to principle religion, obey the God, ignore life, the real life after this. Common folks with no experiment of science, while other learned people disputing on a science, they in a science or philosophy is discussing is a discussion, but for religion there is no doubt. Set energy on a concept on philosophy. Our best protection as a Hume by thinking they find evidence to support a new and extraordinary doctrine is ignorance against such a arrogance in religious matters. Skepticism continues. Now skepticism continues who is between the philosophy and the dogmatism as a sketch of the Hume. Philo as a representative or actor of this writing. Prevent this profane liberty of laying down the law in religious matters and agree with the Dema's principle on a concerning our prudeness to error and confusion, weakness, blindness, and narrowness of human reason. So now skepticism goes to the dogmatism, and he supported dogmatism and religion, paying and continue paying proper attention to its uncertainty and its endless contradiction, error, deceits of our senses be kept in mind, while for posteriori not able to overcome, not surmount insuperable difficulties, just means developing of science to invent new discovery devices. So if that time Hume could not answer this people to skepticism on behalf of the philosophy, because in Hume times still we didn't have electricity, not discovered electricity. Electricity is discovered in the 18th century, 1 century after that. And now we have an MRI, we have a TV, we have a laptop, we have a computer, we have an iPhone. And so next century more and more, so science is developing, and by our strong instinct in invention and thinking, we make devices to bring the new reliable reasons. So reasons on a progress. Contradiction in quantity, which is the topic of the mathematics, like the cause and effect, time, space, extension, motion, physics of Newton, Kant in 18th century, while mathematics is the only science has a claim of certainty as a foundation of the logic in a self-evidence, while philosopher or opposition group in theology to explain it and display it in a full light. Who can remain in a confident enough of his frail and weak reason to give heed and pay attention that topic like physics, chemistry, or mathematics are sublime, grandeur, awe, splendid, impressiveness, admire, so abstruse and so remote from common life and experience, like the existence and nature of the God. Now, Prime Minister of the hybrid French, Scottish, English say I was born here, or potential Prime Minister Mr. Ignatieff, he went to the Hungary, and then God save King, which is fundamental constituency. Hume was in time of the George I, George II, King George III, and that was his very free and liberation time, and always Britain was separate from the Europe. He had a more atmosphere of the free thinking and free conversation, and maybe never forget the battle of the Catholicism and Anglican, or Henry VIII, and more, and that tragedy and independence of the politics from the church, and always was one step more free. So that's why Hume had a more open-minded or easy talking than generalization concept of the Immanuel Kant in that time. Yeah, I went to the Nova Scotia in 2010. I had a big problem. To find my citizenship. I mean, I'm a legitimate enter inside the Canada. I went. They said the one guy came. His name is Hamish. In Toro, Nova Scotia, the people they wore a skirt of the kilt, and they played the traditional play of the big power like a stone, and take a big timber in front of the college of the Dalhousie agriculture in Toro. But the real Scottish, the real Hamish, the real David Hume is not power, is not too much in muscle. Power should be inside the mind by the science and by the make a reasoning on an advanced life, and to be a leader, conductor, good teacher for the students as a good pattern of the Genesis and real Scottish. So Celt is not too much important. Like extension part, like extension part of the stone and its structure, or Hume, or how many molecules of the hydrogen and oxygen in the ocean. Uh, they are inexplicable, and the contradiction of the number. Yeah, there is a one notice here about the history of the England. The William was in the 11th century, King Williams, and always the king had a with the connection with the religion in the Archbishop of the Canterbury and building of the Westminster Abbey, and the story of the Henry VIII, and after Anglican, uh, and and several history, always together with the France, Scotland, Ireland. Uh, Unfortunately, in the last 20 centuries, that uh, people, a spectator in the soccer between in the Brussels Stadium soccer between Italian and English in 1985, made again the history of that time between Catholic and Anglican. The all it shows the context of the religion is not the old, it's not the obsolete. We have to discuss on philosophy and science to bring the knowledge and bring the reasons and get rid of the darkness. Uh, and now we have to thinking how many Scottish scientists or researchers they make a working in a factory of the England to produce the cars, automobile like Jaguar, Land Rover, Rolls Royce, Aston Martins, or Bentley. How can we confidently reach to conclusion about the origin of the words, or trace the history eternity, from eternity to eternity? As a philo spoke, I noticed that the philo as a skepticism, it's a dema representative of the religion, and the Clintus representative of the human philosophy. After this conversation of the skepticism, both of them smiling, but the smile of the Clintus from philosophy is like a Mona Lisa way, and a smile of the Dema is a gullible and credulous way, or dull way. For Clintus and his features, I discerned an air of knowing amusement, as I see in a fellow's reasoning some kind of the teasing or trap setting. riddle, irony, sarcasm, trap-setting, dualism. I will retreat into these theological doctrine where will be stronger and authoritative than ever. Your claim on a skeptic, doubt, and the uncertain of reason, weak look to jump on a window, and the fact of gravity and ignorance, say, fallacious or flaccidity of senses and experiment. But this reserve skeptic makes a whimsical, sect and joking as a bad comedian, but not dangerous for state, philosophy, and religious. So now the complaining philosophy and the Clintus to the skepticism, how he support the religion and send the kids first to learn religion before the science. Like you want to make an experiment and jumping from the window, and you know there is a gravity, and after you will be injured, and I said, oh, this is a flashes of the senses, flaccidity of our senses, but you know this is not the flaccidity of senses, this is the reality of our creature, to learn how to adapt and in front of the dangerous phenomena. Clintus, as a philosopher, continues of, if a skeptic denounces, so philosophy between state and religion and role of the hierarchy, wealthy aristocrat and the royals, emperors, renouncing all beliefs and opinions and imperfections of human reasons, nothing left for skepticism like a rush blood to the head after intense thought. External objects will press in on him, his passion will call to him, so what remain by a dissipate of philosophy to he needs to work on himself to do so. And what reason has he to work on himself in that way? He will never able to answer this question constantly by his skeptical principle. But for posteriori elucidation of the himself and reason is different from the Hume at this time in 21st century. The reason is based on a wave of the electromagnet, and the concept of the reason is nothing. It has the essence of the hyperbolic of the magnet in the brain to make a stability, which I explain in philosophy of the geometry and transcendental reason, how the reason is make a sense inside the mind as a 3 degree of the triangle should be 180, or the square is 4 sides is equal together, and each one is a 90 degree, 360 altogether. So all is reason starting from mathematics, and after we continue to the concept and definition and meaning of the concept based on this reason from magnet. And all is related to the sexism based on the philosophy of Prosteriori, having 2 passports, 2 citizenship, means 2 wives, to love is possible. Yes, like a concubine of the Chinese is possible, but yeah, it's not too much reasonable. It's not too much norm. The end of the road, the best reasonable and dignity and the vice is a true love. So all is related to the real life, from experiment, from objective to declare of the subject. Okay, so this is the first part, and we will continue on books of the part I of dialogue of the nature of the religion by David Hume. Thank you.